Hi, I'm Nina.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are Bloody Essentials. Jamie can't be with us tonight, but she will be back with us next week. Never you fear. Quick thank you to all of our listeners for supporting the show. It really means a lot to us, and it helps us continue to do what we're doing. If you could continue to support the show by following us, whether it's on our socials or YouTube, Spotify, also leave a review on your dedicated platform of choice, because that helps the podcast out a lot. It helps horror listeners like yourselves to know that we are amazing.
It's facts, we are.
Yeah, and it helps spread the word. So if you like the horror community and you want to learn more about, indie filmmakers and, just horror creators in general, this is the podcast for you. So welcome. Also, shout out to our Patreon members, Rick Paulton and Swift. Guys, thank you so much for all that you do. We really appreciate it, whether it's, just being a Patreon member. More importantly, your friendship means the world to us, and we're so thankful to know you guys, and we can't wait to hang out with you guys very soon.
Definitely.
Yeah. If you want to have your name mentioned in our episodes and receive fun little goodies from the entire Bloody Essentials team, you can join our Patreon. It's no commitment. You just pay as little or as much as you would like each month. And all the money goes back into the podcast 100%, whether it's upgrading recording equipment, getting new editing software, or travel funds for upcoming appearances. All that money, like I said, goes back into the podcast. And you get fun little goodies from us, whether it's Bloody Essentials merch, other horror goodies, and also unedited episodes. We do have monthly movie parties that just started up, so that's coming your way if you're a Patreon member. So be on the lookout for that. Speaking of travel expenses, we have some upcoming appearances. But Milwaukee Horror Con, March 14th through the 16th. That is a brand new horror convention, so definitely go out there, support them. They're awesome people. And they're, just regular horror fans like ourselves that noticed a need for Milwaukee to have a horror convention. So get out there, support them. And we all know, being in the horror community, that the smaller cons don't get a lot of love, but they're sometimes more fun because they're more intimate. You get to interact with the celebrities more one-on-one and hang out with them after hours, which I love personally. So I can't wait for that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the owner, CJ, is an awesome guy, totally down to earth. So if you see him, say hello. Ash, who works with him, great guy, very prominent in the horror community.
Yeah. Indie filmmaker himself.
Yeah. Very awesome guy. Say hi to him. Make sure you come out and you support this HorrorCon.
Definitely. We will also be at the Chicago Horror Film Festival, May 15th through the 18th. That is going to be a really great time, guys. That is spotlighting local artists here in Chicago, specifically their horror movies, obviously. And it's just a great opportunity to meet fellow filmmakers or just members of the horror community, because everybody's invited. If you buy a ticket, you can go. And you can buy a ticket for one day, the whole weekend, whatever you want to do. But it's a great time. And, it's a really good time meeting different people. So,
yep. And just getting to hang out with other horror freaks like us.
Absolutely. And of course, we will be at Days of the Dead in Indy, June 13th through the 15th, because that is Ethan's annual birthday bash. So
that's correct.
Yes, you definitely don't want to miss that. That's going to be a great time. It always is. The alcohol will be flowing from us because the bartenders don't care. But
we bring our own bar with us. So.
We do. We are the bar.
That's right.
Yes. But that's going to be a great time. We're so excited for that. So,
and if you've not come to a con and met Stitch yet,
Oh yeah.
Come and meet Stitch.
Stitch wants to meet you.
That's right. Stitch wants to meet you.
Yes. If you see Ethan at a con, ask him about Stitch, and I assure you he can accommodate you.
Absolutely.
We almost left Stitch one time last year, remember? And we drove an hour back just to go get him.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yep, sure did.
Because people were like, we don't care if you come, but Stitch has to come. So.
Mm-hmm. And that was at your birthday bash.
That was.
All right.
I'm going to say that's because we were having a good time the night before and forgot to pack Stitch.
We did. So. Yep. As we do.
You know.
All right. And that worked out because we forgot the iced coffee too.
Facts.
Yeah. So this is long overdue, but we are finally doing it. We are doing Phantasm from 1979.
Yes.
Yes. Mwahaha. Jeremy, Ethan, when was the first time you guys saw this Phantasm movie?
Jer?
I'd say probably in my mid-20s, I would say. Because I don't know, when I first seen it, I wasn't too into it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't my thing. It wasn't my genre at the time. I was more closed-minded on horror than I am now.
What? Yeah. As Joe Bob Briggs likes to say, you don't watch Phantasm for the storyline. Which is true. Yeah. Ethan, what about you?
I know I was young when I seen it. Probably 10, 11. And I liked it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like, eh. So it wasn't until I revisited it and I was older and I realized what was happening. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this makes sense. I kind of like this.
Same thing for me, man. Same thing.
Yeah.
When I got older and I was like, oh, okay, now this makes sense. Then I really enjoyed it. So
I'm going to be leaning on you then for some support tonight.
Okay.
This makes sense. You silly
goose. Well, you know, doesn't necessarily make sense, but it makes more sense than when I was young. So.
That's fair. Yeah, for sure. I'm thankful I didn't see this until 2020, 2021.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is a pretty new watch for me, but like the love for it was instantaneous. And I think that would not have been the case if, like you guys, I had seen it when I was younger.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely campy. It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You don't really know what's going on until like 3/4 of the way through the movie.
Right.
But it's a good time.
It is.
Yeah. And I think the sequels get even better. Like that's one of the few series where the movies continue to get better and better and better with time. Okay. Yeah. That's just my take, but I'm biased. All right. So we're doing Phantasm 1979. Let's do plot points, shall we? And there are so many.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in this movie.
There's so much. I started to regret my decision on taking the lead on this. I was like, my hand's cramping up. I'm on page 4. Okay. So we start out with a bang, sex in a graveyard. It's always a good time.
It is.
Yes. We see this woman. She's what I've referred to in my notes as the woman in lavender or purple or whatever. We see her. She pulls out a knife and she kills the guy that she just had sex with, Tommy. And we see the woman transform into a man, and we will call him the Tall Man because that is the character's name technically, even though you don't quite know that yet.
Right.
Yes. All right. So we meet Jody and Reg, two of our main characters, and they are at the funeral home. They're about to attend the funeral for Tommy. He was a friend of theirs. Jody is going to go into the mausoleum before the funeral to pay his respects to his family, his parents that just recently passed a few years ago. Yeah. He's hearing some strange noise. The subtitles called it warbling, which I thought was fun. And then we get the Tall Man slapping his hand down on Jody's shoulder, saying the funeral is about to begin. And like, if you don't introduce a funeral like this, you're doing it wrong.
Correct. Correct.
It's fun.
And can I say that Angus Scrimm did an awesome job here? He was phenomenal as the Tall Man.
He is just amazing in general. Yeah, I love Angus Scrimm.
I was so sad I never got to meet him.
I have a friend that got to meet him, and he said he was very lovely and very tall.
Yeah. I've seen him. I seen him at con, and he.
Oh, you just didn't get to meet him?
Right. I didn't get to meet him. I went to meet him, and he had to go do something, and I was like, "Oh, I'll come back. I'll come back." Well, it never came back, and then I never got to another con where he was at, so that sucked.
Yeah. Well, he shouldn't have said he'd be right back.
This is facts.
Yeah.
He would appreciate the humor there, I think.
Yes.
All right. So we find out from Jody that he's got a younger brother called Mike. And Jody basically made the decision, Mike, you can't come to the funeral. It's too soon after our parents have died. That alone was traumatic, obviously. So we're just not gonna just stay back. And nobody tells Mike what to do.
Right. Mike's his own man, damn it. He's going to do what he wants.
And he does throughout the entire movie.
Yes, he does.
He got his bike and his binoculars. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what to do.
I love it. I love that bike. So he's kind of spying on the place, trying to see what's going on from a distance. And like you said, he's using his binoculars to spy on everybody. And he sees the tall man picking up Tommy's casket and pulling it out of the hearse, all on his own. And that's, if you've ever had to carry a casket, unfortunately, you know how heavy they are.
They are.
Yeah. Much less with the body in them. So, yep. So Mike goes to see his friend. She's got a grandma who's a fortune teller type woman. And he says he found out that Jody is leaving. He's planning on leaving him, and Mike's very upset about that. And then we're flashing back and forth between Mike's conversation with the fortune teller woman and Jody's conversation with Reggie. And Jody is saying how he's thinking of sending Mike to live with his aunt. He says that Mike is following him everywhere. But the fortune teller woman, she's saying, oh, Jody's not going to abandon you, Mike, no matter what. Yeah. So she has a sense of what is coming. And then we flash back to when Mike was in the cemetery spying on everybody. And basically the tall man caught Mike spying on him, and Mike tries to escape on his dirt bike. And the tall man basically knocks him off the bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets bitch smacked.
He does.
Off of
he
his
just
bike.
Clotheslined. Yeah. Yep. And we're back with the fortune teller woman, and she asks him to put his hand in a box, this black box that just suddenly appears in front of him.
Because that's not creepy.
Yeah. Right. And basically they just keep repeating to Mike, don't fear. And if you've seen Dune, this is directly from Dune, the book, the movies. So I just wanted to highlight that because I love Dune, and I think it was funny that it somehow made its way into Phantasm, because of course it did. Maybe that's why I also love Phantasm. I don't know. But yeah, so basically when Mike puts his hand in the box, he's feeling all this pain, and the fortune teller is trying to teach him, just because you're feeling the pain, it's all in your head. If you just stop being afraid of it, it'll stop. So, which is so stupid. It's so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
If you're in pain, obviously you're going to be afraid, and you're because he can't see what's happening to his hand. But right. The fortune teller woman and the girl, his friend, is just it was all in your head. It wasn't actually happening. Foreshadowing.
Right.
Yeah. And then we just hear a random woman screaming from the funeral home. So shit's going down, right? Jody goes to a local bar. Mike is, of course, following him outside. And Jody's about to get lucky in 5 seconds. He's already picked up a girl, and it's our girl from the beginning of the movie, the woman in purple. And they are just taken off walking somewhere, even though Jody has a car.
Right.
Yeah, but they're just off walking, and
Mike, and a house.
Yes, and Mike continues to follow.
And
he's sure romantic.
I'm sure there's hotels around there. Why everybody in this movie got to screw in the graveyard?
I don't know, because listen, a car is a good setting, especially considering the car that Jody drives. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car.
Yes, it is.
So Jody and the girl in purple, they end up having some naughty time in the funeral. But Mike, the ultimate cock blocker, is not having it.
He said,
He's
"Not
a
today."
peeping Tom. What a peeping Tom, bro.
Yeah, it's like, what do you expect is happening right now? What are you waiting to see? Like, yeah.
Right.
So, but Mike is spying on them, and he gets attacked by this little hooded figure. And in my head, I'm just like, he looks like a Jawa.
Yes.
Like, they
Yes.
always look like Jawas to me. Not as cute, but yeah. So Jody sees that Mike is like running through the cemetery, like all disturbed, like, and of course he goes to check on him, just leaves the girl there on her own.
Oh, how about when he lifts his head up and he's got like the panties in his mouth? That
Oh
was
my
awesome.
God.
That's great.
I love that so much.
It was so funny, man.
Yeah. And yeah, so Jody's listening to Mike and he's just being very dismissive. He's like, you're just imagining it. You are just being ridiculous. And then Jody goes back to be with the girl and she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
As you would. Like, why would you stick around for him to come back? I'm sorry, no.
See, the movie should have went, and then he went home and kicked that little son of a bitch's ass because he didn't get none.
Mike saved his life.
Yes, but we did
But
not know
he didn't know that.
But he did not know that was Killer Punani at that time. He did not know that.
It doesn't matter if they knew it or not. He saved his life.
He was hoping it was Killer, but he didn't know.
Well, okay.
Oh my God, you guys are ridiculous. All right, so Mike is in bed and he has a nightmare. The tall man is above him, and then his minions, his little hooded figure friends, pop out and grab him. And that just like reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street, where we see Freddy above Nancy's bed. I was like, that is so clever. And because Angus Scrimm is so tall, like him just leaning over is just daunting. Yeah. All right. So Mike is in town and he sees a tall man walking, and that's such an eerie shot where like it goes quiet and you just can't hear anything but the tall man's footsteps. And he just turns very ominously. He stops right behind Reggie's truck, and Reggie's just doing his normal thing, doesn't even notice. And, you know, Mike just has this, he sees him and the tall man sees him, and it's just like, but they don't say anything.
Right.
It's great. And we see Mike, he's working on a car, and then the jack falls out because these hooded figures are up on the car trying to mess with Mike. So Mike is trapped under the car, and then Jody, when he finally gets home from wherever he was at, he pulls him out. And once again, Jody doesn't know that they're in a horror movie.
Facts.
Yeah.
Well, Jody shows up and he's under the car. And did you notice he like hits him in the foot with a hammer? He's like, what the hell?
You hit me with a hammer.
Yeah, I love that. But Mike is determined to find out what's going on because he knows what's up. Something is going on.
Right.
So he heads to the funeral home because that seems to be the source of all the activity, right? And I love how he's armed with a knife and a cross, and of course that stylish denim jacket. Yes. So Mike is inside the funeral home part of it, and he's like hiding in a coffin when he hears someone coming in. And they head towards the mausoleum, and this flying silver orb comes out, and then the blades come out of the orb, and Mike ducks just in time, but the man that he had seen enter the funeral home gets it.
Yes.
And it's just an incredible moment, right?
Can I say how gorgeous the blood was?
I had that in my notes too.
How red and gorgeous it was. Oh, it was freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, and it hits him like right in the face.
Yes, right here and just right down. Oh God, that was great.
Turned him into a damn fountain.
Right?
Yeah, it just pours out. It's so gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. The color of the blood, it just screams 70s. I love it.
I think we all may need professional help, by the way. But go ahead.
Definitely not. I can appreciate some good art, okay?
Right?
So the tall man appears and he's chasing Mike. Mike barricades himself behind a door, but we see the tall man's hand is caught between the door and the door frame. And Mike cuts the tall man's fingers off, and then we have yellow blood that spurts out. And Mike has the foresight to grab a finger, hoping that that will prove to his brother once and for all that shit's going down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, I mean, if nothing else,
yeah,
this man is bleeding orange yellow blood. So
yes,
so
And the finger,
not right.
and the
Something's not
fingers
right
were
here.
still moving. The fingers were
the
still
fingers
moving
are
on the
still
ground.
moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which does not happen.
Yeah.
Which I'm saving a fun fact here in case somebody else has it written down, but in case it isn't mentioned, I have it stored away in my vault here.
Okay.
About that scene. All right. So he's got the finger, and he goes. He escapes out a window just as a hooded figure is trying to come after him. So Mike shows the finger to Jody. The finger is still moving in the box, and it's still covered with yellow blood. Finally, Jody's like, okay, shit, you're right. I'm convinced.
What?
This is it. Okay. A moving finger, the yellow blood.
The blood in the box looks like pudding, like it's thick as hell. You notice that?
It's custard.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jody was like, listen, okay, I believe you. We're going to take care of this. I'm still pissed because I could have got some.
Right.
But I'm still pissed at you, but we're going to handle this.
And all I got was a mouthful of panties. That's
right.
It's more than most guys get, okay? All right. So after all of this, Jody's like, you know what? Like, let's get your finger. Let's take it to the sheriff. I'm like, what the hell is the sheriff going to do? This guy's got yellow blood.
Right?
Yeah. I'm like, all right. I don't think you're fully convinced yet. But yeah, so Mike is headed upstairs, but then we have this finger that turns into a creature. It's spider-like, but not really, because it's I have in my notes one of Jim Henson's rejects.
I said it looked like a fly, a spider, and a big cockroach
all in one.
All had a baby. And it was just like, and it was just nasty.
Yeah, definitely. It's like Jim Henson and then David Lynch got together, and this is the insect they created.
There you go.
So, Mike is trying to fend off this creature thing, and he, goes downstairs, and Jody helps him try to destroy it in the garbage disposal. They think they got it. And then right as that happens, Reg comes in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Reggie shows up, and then the creature comes back out of the garbage disposal just very slowly, and then Jody shoves it back in, and they finally kill it. So Jody decides he's going to go to the funeral home, and Jody is attacked by one of these hooded creatures yet again, and he shoots it, and then the hearse is leaving, and he tries to follow the hearse, and there's this epic car chase between the hearse and then them, of course, and then Mike shows up in the car and everything, and so it's revealed that there's no one driving the hearse, right?
Correct.
And ultimately the hearse ends up crashing. The boys pull up on it, and then one of the hooded figures is in the car, bleeding yellow blood, but the creature has the face of Tommy.
Yes.
So they are using these bodies in some way to create little hooded figures. And so the boys and Reggie, they go back to the house. And the big question is everyone at the cemetery these creatures now? Because that would mean that their parents have now been taken, basically.
Right.
Their bodies have been taken, and they're being used for evil, basically. And Reggie says, they got to get to the tall man and just beat the answers out of him. I like Reggie's style.
Yeah.
Reggie's my favorite.
I love Reggie. Yeah.
And he's got an ice cream truck, so me and him are friends.
Oh, God, yeah. He's just so funny.
I can have an ice cream sandwich and beat the piss out of this guy. Let's go.
Right.
And he'll play music.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, I love that scene where Jody and him are playing music and stuff. Yeah. So Reggie, he takes Mike to Sally's and Susie's because Mike is not going to be involved in this. He's too young. Even though Mike is literally saving their asses at every fucking turn. Yeah.
You know what Mike is saying through this entire movie? You never let me do nothing. You never let me do nothing.
Mike is the, you know what? Mike is the final guy that we didn't get to talk about in our Final Guys episode.
That's true.
Yeah, I never escaped my brain, but yeah, Mike is a badass throughout the whole series.
Yep.
Yeah. So they decided that Mike is going to go to Sally's and Susie's, who are just randomly introduced to us. We've never met them before.
We're just going to throw them in here.
Yeah. And they run an antique shop, and I guess they live there too, because one of the girls says that she's made a bed up for Mike in the back room of the shop whenever he's ready to go to sleep. And Mike's just casually looking through the antique store as if he's never been there before, which he probably hasn't. He's a guy. Right. Yeah.
And 13, so why would he want to go there?
Yeah. And it's not like his parents dragged him to this antique store. They're dead. So, right. But yes. Did your parents ever drag you to antique stores? Because my parents did.
Yes.
Okay.
My fucking did.
Yes. You see what I'm saying?
No, because even if my mother wanted to go, my father would have been like, we're going to go to the hotel or go home here.
No, my dad took
me. Some money and you can go.
My dad took me because he liked to look at like the historical stuff, because
I actually like to go to antique stores myself, just a side note. And
Josh, you're showing your age, sir. You're showing your age.
I can't help it. Do you know how much horror memorabilia you can find in antique stores?
No, because I don't go.
You can.
You can. And Josh likes to go because he can find Godzilla stuff.
Yeah. Oh, you can find a lot of like collectibles, figures and stuff from antique stores. I like to go because of books. Yes. But you can sometimes find movies there too, because a lot of it's like people rent out booths to get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
And they don't want to like just donate it, they want to sell it. Yeah. So
they also have a lot of I know I'm gonna get yelled at here, Steve. Serial killer memorabilia. So
do they have boxes of dirt there?
No. I collect my own dirt, sir. I've got my own dirt.
All right. So while Mike is perusing the antique store, he comes across these old pictures of the tall man in funeral garb and everything. So he's like driving the full-on carriage hearse that they used to have in like the 1800s. And one of my favorite parts of the movie is when the picture starts to move and the tall man turns and looks right at Mike. Like that is so haunting and absolutely terrifying, because like he can get to Mike no matter where he is, whether he's awake, whether he's asleep, it does not matter. He will find you. Yeah. So at this point, Mike is like, we need to go. You need to take me back. They don't know what they're dealing with. Yeah. So because this guy is, we know he is immortal basically. Right.
Right.
So they just, no questions. They're just like, yep, we're going to listen to this kid. It's like,
right.
Jody didn't tell you guys to maybe not listen to him. Nothing. Okay, whatever. So Jody is at the house and he's just sitting there, and I don't know if he was waiting for Reggie to come back or what, but Jody is just kind of like dozing off, and he's dreaming that he's in the mausoleum, and then the tall man orders his minions to like snatch him. Right. Very similar to Mike's dream at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So on the way back home, Reggie's ice cream truck is rolled over on its side, right? So Mike is headed home with Sally and the other girl, Sally and Susie. They are not very creative with these female names.
No.
So on the way back home, Reggie's ice cream truck is rolled over onto its side off the road. Mike goes to investigate, and then these hooded figures, they attack him. They attack him and the girls, and ultimately Mike has to like get out of the car, and like the car drives off with Sally and Susie, or Susie and whatever the girls' names are. Right. The girls are still in the car screaming, being attacked while in the car, right? So we assume they're dead, right? Yeah. And Mike just falls over, hits his head, and he is out for the count for a bit. Eventually Mike wakes up, he runs home, and he tells Jody what happened. Jody, like the fucking macho asshole that he is in this whole movie, he takes Mike upstairs, he locks him in his room. Mike has done more in this movie than Jody has in his entire life.
But I don't think he was trying to be a macho asshole. I think he was trying to be a good big brother and trying to protect him.
Yes, but it's like, what can you do? Like, clearly this tall man guy can come get you no matter where you are. Sally and Susie's not safe. That's what Mike has been trying to tell him this entire time. And as we see with a lot of horror movies, Jody's not listening. Right.
All right.
So,
facts.
yeah. So Jody locks Mike in his bedroom. Mike is stuck in there for a bit. And Jody decides he's going to go back to the funeral home and hopefully try to end this once and for all.
Yep.
But Mike is clever and he is going to get out of that room, and he does. And he's very efficient. He loads up on all the weapons. I love Mike. And we see the tall man actually in the house, and he grabs him and just throws him into the hearse. And Mike has a gun with him, so he shoots his gun at the hearse. And
can we go back for just a minute?
Yeah,
please. When he was locked in the room.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
this is one of the only damn complaints I have about the movie.
Okay.
Now they lock him in he takes a screwdriver and he wedges it in the door so he can't get out.
Yeah.
So he goes to the desk and he pulls out the shotgun shell.
Sure.
Well, I immediately noticed two things here. Okay. One, there was a hole in the door at the bottom where he had apparently kicked the door. So yes. It wasn't a solid wood door.
Sure.
So one, why didn't you just kick through the door?
Right.
But whatever. And then there was a hammer sitting on his desk. Why didn't you take the hammer, knock the door handle off, and then pull the door open? Instead, he's going to MacGyver it and take the shotgun shell, which actually was cool. Takes the shotgun and boom, blows it up.
Your answer is in the question.
Because it was cooler to do it.
Because it was cooler to do it that way than just... Right? Because they give the impression that Mike is not strong. He's strong, but he's not going to just hammer his way out of a situation. He's going to critically analyze the situation and go about it that way. Whereas Jody is the strength.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that shotgun shell would have done so much damage to Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than just a puff of smoke.
Yeah.
Listen.
I'm like, oh, look, Mike's dead. So
right, for sure. The movie
Mike has no eyebrows. Yeah.
All right, so little MacGyver got out of there. He's in the thing.
He's in the hearse now, yeah.
He's in the hearse. He's got the gun. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay, so Mike is still stuck in the hearse, but not for long. He has a gun and he shoots the hearse in just the right way and manages to get out just in time before the hearse explodes. And we think we've got the tall man, but we never fully have the tall man, right?
No.
Because why would just fire kill him? That would be boring. Right. Yeah. So Jody is opening up a coffin at the funeral home, and it's revealed that it's his dad's coffin. He's just checking to make sure that his body's still in there and he hasn't turned into a Jawa.
Right.
Mike gets to the funeral home and Jody's nowhere to be found. Okay. Mike enters the mausoleum and he sees the coffin for his dad and it's empty, which obviously upsets him, as it would anybody else. And we see our silver orb come back, and it is after Mike. But Jody reveals himself just in time and shoots the orb and destroys it. I don't think that a bullet could destroy it, but for the sake of the story.
Right.
Yeah. It is cool either way.
Yes.
So right as they're about to leave the mausoleum, Reggie magically appears. I love this because they're like, oh no, Reggie, what happened? He's dead. This is why Reggie's cool. Yeah. He full on Dumbledore / Gandalf's it, just appears at the most random moment, but the most convenient moment because he helped everybody. He says that Sally and Susie are alive. This whole time he's just been hiding in a coffin, trying to stay out of sight. And he found Sally and Susie as well as several other girls from the town, and he helped them get out, basically. And then we enter this room, and it's got these black barrels along one side of the room, right? And then on the other side of the room, we have these two silver columns, just basically in the middle of the room, and there's nothing past it, right?
Correct.
And the guys are arguing about Reggie and Jody are arguing about the crates or whatever. And Mike is examining the silver columns, and he notices that if he puts his hands in between the two silver columns, his hand disappears. So he's like, all right, I'm just gonna go for it,
Right.
Yeah, basically it's kind of alluding to the very beginning when he put his hand in the box, right?
Right.
So he full on like goes in between these two columns, and we fall into the tall man's world. Basically, it's another planet, probably another dimension.
Right.
It's very creepy looking. It's what I would imagine hell would look like, I feel like. And we see a line, like several lines of these hooded figures. The Jawas, they're carrying the barrels. And yeah.
This world reminds me of like in Beetlejuice, the first Beetlejuice. You know how he falls out and it's just like the same sand, but he like falls out from the sky, like how Michael kind of leans in from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
kind of like where the sandworms were.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love it. And apparently it's like a real location.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But I can't remember where it is exactly, but I remember when I watched it with Joe Bob's commentary, Joe Bob Briggs, he did say it was a real location that you can actually visit.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's probably in California or somewhere near about that. But
okay,
listeners, if you know where it is or if you've been there, please tell us, and we'd love to see photos.
Yes.
Yeah. So Jody and Reggie, they pull Mike out. I guess his feet were still because I feel like if you fully went in there, you would not be coming back out.
Right.
Yeah. So they managed to get him out, and Mike says that the columns are is a doorway to the other planet, basically. And then all the lights go out and the guys are separated.
Yep.
Because electricity, that's how it works. All right. So Reggie is in the room still with the silver columns, and he gets the idea from like a memory of the tuning fork, I don't remember the technical name for it, but it's a tuning item. He gets the idea to hold on to the silver columns instead of putting his hand through. And that sets off like a chain reaction. And then the barrels start getting sucked into this portal. And Reggie's just holding on for dear life, trying not to get sucked in, because if he goes in, he's not coming back out. And so he manages to get out of that room. Meanwhile, Mike is outside and the wind is just blowing crazy. And we also see Jody, who is also outside, but we see the woman in purple behind him with a knife ready to kill him, right? So Reggie manages to get outside. Reggie ends up seeing the lady in purple on the ground. And he goes to check on her. And right as he checks on her, because he is the knight in shining armor, let's be real, she stabs him because she's a bitch.
It's true.
It's true.
It's very true.
Once again, we get the reveal that the lady in purple is the tall man, and they are one and the same.
What a cool scene, though. Like when it pans up from him, like standing there with a knife, and it pans up. It's such a cool scene.
Yeah.
See, then Mike should have looked at Jody and been like, "Are you glad you didn't sleep with her? you see what I did there? See what I saved you from?
Talk about taking one for the team,
right?
Seriously.
But also, you had his panties in your mouth, so get nasty.
How you feel about that? Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's not as funny now.
Yeah. Who's laughing now, bitch? Who's laughing now?
You had Angus Scrimm's panties in your mouth.
That's right.
Ick. Yeah. So Reggie's been stabbed. He's not doing too hot. But yeah, that scene where it flashes back and forth between the tall man and the woman in purple, like, it's great. Mike and Jody are reunited. They make a run for it. They leave Reggie because it appears that Reggie is dead. And then the funeral home just like vanishes, right? Mm-hmm. And then we see the tall man. He's outside the house when Mike tries to look outside, and he shatters the window. And he's just going after Mike full force. And then for the first time, we finally hear him say, "Boy," which is like an iconic line from the whole Phantasm series. And no one can do it like Angus Scrimm.
Definitely.
And we get the awesome line of the tall man saying to Mike, you play a good game, but the game is finished and now you die. So fun. So he's just chasing Mike. Mike leads him towards the mine shafts that used to be in the town. And he's able to trap the tall man, and the tall man ultimately falls into the mine shaft. And we flash forward. Reggie and Mike are at their house, and we find out that Jody died in a car crash. And supposedly he died in the car crash there was no interference by the tall man, supposedly, but obviously they both know that's not true. And Reggie promises that no matter what, he's going to look after Mike. And then Reggie tells him to get his stuff, get packed. We're going to go take a trip and get away from this town for a little bit. So Mike heads upstairs, and we see the tall man in his full-length mirror as he closes the door, which is so great. And then he says, "Boy," again, the only way Angus Grimm knows how. And he pulls Mike through the mirror as the mirror shatters. Yeah. And that is the end of the movie. And if you're as confused as we were when we first watched this, you're not alone. So that is Phantasm. I understand why people don't find it a very digestible movie. But it's a fun one.
It is a fun one. Jared, You got some fun facts for us?
I sure do.
All right.
So the film's original runtime was over 3 hours, but it was decided that it was too long to hold people's attention. Some of the unsaved footage was located in the late 1990s, and then it became the framework for Phantasm 4.
Oh, interesting.
So as confusing as this movie was, how the hell confusing would it have been if it was over 3 hours long? You would have been completely fucking lost.
I don't know. Maybe it would have made more sense if it was longer.
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, maybe the cuts made it more confusing.
I would have wanted to watch the 3 hour movie.
I would have too.
I would have wanted to watch it.
Now, if I had seen it and it would have made less sense,
right?
I don't know, but because each of these movies, I was just looking at it, they all are 90 minutes or so, and the last one, Phantasm 5, is only 86 minutes.
Yeah,
because I have to set.
Me
but
too.
I don't think I've seen past 3.
Ooh.
Because now that you mention it, I don't think I have seen Oblivion.
Watch number 4. It should have been part of number 1.
We should do a Phantasm night at the house.
Well, yes, we're covered. Yeah, and this is a great set because it has Don Coscarelli's commentary on all of them. But anyways, back to fun facts.
Okay.
So Don Coscarelli took the title Phantasm from the works of Edgar Allan Poe. It was a term that was frequently used in Poe's work. Interesting. So he was a big fan.
Didn't know that.
The title was changed to the Never Dead for Australian audiences. So it wouldn't be confused with a popular Australian sex comedy called Phantasm, which also known as Phantasma.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. The sphere, they were designed by Willard Green, and it costs a little over $1,100 to make the sphere.
Wow.
And the creator actually passed away before he had a chance to actually watch the movie to see his creation on screen.
What a shame.
Oh, wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
That is one of the most iconic parts of the whole series, those spheres. Yeah.
So the flying ball scene, they were made with simple effects. So the sphere, like when it was going down the hallway, it was actually just thrown down the hallway, and then they would by a baseball pitcher, and then they would do the shot in reverse. They would play it in reverse.
That's so cool.
And then the ball attaching itself to the caretaker's head.
Yeah.
It was just stitched to his head, and then he just pulled it off. And then they did it in reverse.
That's so cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
Another one I have is let me see. J.J. Abrams, who was the director of Star Wars: The Force Awakenings, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
He came up with a name for Captain Phantasm character after seeing the chrome design, and it reminded him of the ball and Phantasm.
Yep. It's really
I
cool.
did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
The film was originally rated X and banned by the MPAA because of the silver ball sphere scene and because the caretaker urinated on the floor after falling down dead.
They had to cut the urination thing.
Yeah.
But they were okay with the sex in the graveyard.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, it didn't show anything. It didn't show the penetration.
Right.
True.
It just showed boobs.
Yeah. Gratuitous boobs. Oh, darn.
but then there was a critic named Charles Champlin. He made a phone call as a favor to a friend that was actually on the board, and he got the Phantasm downgraded to an R rating.
Well,
Very
he's a
cool.
hero.
Yes,
Yeah.
he is.
The 1971 Plymouth Barracuda was chosen because Don Casarelli remembered a guy in high school who had one, and he was a little envious of his car, and he made the Barracuda was made to look like a Hemi Cuda.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I could see why he was envious, because that car, and I'm not a car guy, but that car is gorgeous.
Yeah. The cars are very big, very important in the Phantasm movies, especially in part 2.
So the opening sex scene in the graveyard with Kathy Lester, she didn't want to be filmed topless, so they used a body double for that scene in the cemetery.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
The little minions, they were all played by children.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know that.
They weren't made by dwarves or anything like that. It was all children.
That is awesome.
And then I think the fun fact Nina wants to talk about is that Abrams, he got the idea for the finger. He was like drinking a cup or something, and his finger popped through the bottom of it, and he liked the way it looked. So that's how he got the idea for the finger in the box.
That's not my fun fact, but the fun fact is it relates to the MPAA thing. So the reason why all of them have yellow blood is because they couldn't, after the red blood with the ball, they couldn't get any more red blood. So the red blood shooting out of the fingers and all that, they cut that. They wanted to cut that. And the Don Coscarelli, he was like, no. So he just changed it to yellow blood.
Okay.
Most of the times, if you see creatures or just anything bleeding a color that's not red, it is because the MPAA had an issue with the blood. And instead of taking the scene out altogether, they changed the color. Okay. So just a fun fact. Yeah.
They should have went the Shining route and just said it was rusty fucking.
I know. It's rusty water.
Yeah. So that are all the fun facts that I have.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah,
that.
those were great.
Yeah. All right, let's get into rating this movie. Jared, you want to start?
Okay, so when I first seen it, I thought it was okay. I would have given it probably a 5.
Yeah.
Now that I revisit it, I love this movie. I will give it a 7.5 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember watching it, and I don't know why. I just love the campiness of it. I loved, for somebody who doesn't normally like this in movies, I loved how it just flashed back and forth. I love the characters. They were just, I don't know. They found a way to make these characters mean something. And I think it's because of the close bond that Jodie has with Mike and, Reggie. It's just a great movie. And I love the effects. I was blown away by the orbs and the blood and the Jawas, like the whole lore of it all. It's just so fun. And if you take it seriously, you're not going to enjoy it. If you watch Phantasm just for the story, as Joe Bob Briggs says, you're not going to have a good time. If you go into it just expecting bare minimum, it's fun. And the movies continue to build on each other as it progresses. So I'm going to give this one like a 7.5, I think, too. So it's definitely one of my favorite franchises in horror.
Okay.
It does its job. It makes you care about the main characters, and that's not always easy to do.
I was just about to say that. When I was younger, obviously I didn't understand it all. I liked it, but I didn't really understand it. And when I revisited when I got older, I actually liked the characters in it. I sympathized with what was happening with the characters, and I was like, okay, I can see, being a brother and stuff. I can see the older brother being the dominant prick trying to take care of him, but not being mean, doing it because he's trying to protect him, and the little brother's like, I know what the hell I'm doing here. You don't have to protect me. I mean, I really felt for them, the whole dynamic with that. I really, really like this movie. Watching it now, again, is it a cinematic masterpiece? No, yes. Don't go into it trying to, but you know what I mean. Don't go in there trying to watch. No, don't do it. Just go and watch it. You'll have a good time. Don't try to, make it out for something that it isn't. But I would give this an 8.
Yeah. I think that this is one of the few movies that does a great job of showing men having emotions in a great way that's not over the top. And all of their motives make sense and why they do things. And they're very clear, distinct personalities. And I love that. I think that makes the franchise all the better. Yeah. And I think that you're going to watch the entire franchise of Phantasm, and you're going to go back and rewatch one, and you're going to appreciate it all the more knowing what's to come for these characters.
Yeah.
At least I did.
And then I like it because none of the characters really did any stupid shit that a lot of people do in horror movies. Like, they all did stuff. Like, if you were in these situations, you would probably do what they did too. Like, I mean, you might think because we're on the other side that Jody was stupid for locking his brother in, but you would do it too if you were in that situation because you don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stupid shit, which makes this movie so believable and so, well, not believable, but believable in the situations if you were in those situations.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. The only thing I would have done different before I locked him in there, I would have went in to make sure nobody was in there. No, being the older brother, I would have went in the room, made sure nobody was in the room. Then I would have locked him in the room.
But because at this point, he's come in contact with those little hooded things.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. They made decisions that we would actually make, not the usual horror tropes.
Exactly. So. Yeah. I think anybody should aspire to have a Jody as a brother, or a Mike as the brother, or just having a Reggie for a friend. Like, these characters are great. So
I want a Reggie friend. Hell yeah.
Oh, Reggie for a friend. Oh, yeah.
My fat ass wants somebody who has an ice cream truck. Oh my God, get out of here. If any of our fans own an ice cream truck, pull up. So
Clint Howard has an ice cream truck for you.
Yes, he does.
All right, guys. If you're a fan of Phantasm, let us know. If you're not a fan, let us know too. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear why. And why, well, not why you're wrong. I understand why you wouldn't like it, but give it a shot. Give it a rewatch. If you haven't checked out the sequels, you definitely need to, because like I said, I feel like they get better and better. At least 1 through 3. I can't speak for 4 and 5. I don't think I've seen them. But anyways, that's Phantasm. Let us know what you guys think. And as always, just remember, if you ever find yourself in a horror movie, don't have sex in the cemetery.
Don't do drugs in the cemetery.
And certainly don't die in a cemetery. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Later.